So thank you guys for jumping on with us today. We're just going to walk through the important parts of the president's role, which all of you guys have agreed to take on. And I'm really excited. In January, we'll have that changing of the guard. So you guys still have a few weeks. If you do have any questions about what I'm sharing between now and the end of the year, just get with me. I can do a meeting with you, a phone call with you, whatever you need to feel comfortable to take on this role. But I'm really happy that all of you guys have agreed to do that. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through this document that you will have on your dashboard. And it's basically just the high points of the president's role. So first in format, your job consists of running the meeting. So whereas some of the roles, they have a lot of responsibility outside of meeting time, really truly the president, the main thing you're going to do is just run that meeting. You're going to start it and end it on time. And you're going to be sure that you have everything in your binder that you need. So the president now has a binder, and in that binder is information that you're going to need. And also there's a folder that has every leadership role, their roles and responsibilities, and the information that they also need. You're going to carry that binder with you and keep that with you, bring it to every meeting and take it back and just make sure that the things that we're going to go over here are up to date. So the big thing that I want to impress upon you is one of the biggest jobs the president has is time management. So there are things that happen in a meeting. There are people that don't always stick to their 60-second or their 10-minute. So your job is basically managing time and just keeping everything flowing, okay? And it's really important that you start and end on time. So whether you need to adjust something that's happening in the meeting, that's something that, you can do as you see fit. So it's recommended that you handle the speaker schedule. Now, I say this because if you're tasked with running the meeting and managing the time, I feel like it's really important you guys know who the speaker is, or if the speaker has, contacted membership that morning and said they can't come in. That's something you need to know since you're the one responsible for making that meeting flow. So I would like for you to handle the speaker schedule. If you have somebody in your chapter that wants to do it and you feel like they would really do a good job of it, that's fine if you delegate it, okay? But my preference is for you guys to handle it. And the other thing is we have a roster that I will share with you here in just a minute. And we want every single chapter to use the same roster template. I'm going to send this to you after the meeting, but this will also be in your resources in your dashboard for you to access. And you're going to edit it with the information for your chapter, and your membership person will make sure that they keep it updated. Let's take a look at it here since I'm talking about it. Okay, this is the membership, or this is the roster template that we want you guys to use. So every chapter is going to use this and edit it accordingly. So on the front of it, of course, you have everybody's name and information. You have a place where referrals requested. You have a place to write that information down. You have guests, a place for the guests that are coming, any information pertinent to that. I love this at the bottom of the first page, you have a reminder about the attendance policy. And then when you flip it over, you have a place for the speaker. Any information that you feel is noteworthy that the speaker is sharing, you have a place to write it. You actually have the speaker schedule here. And you also have a QR code for the website. You have the member of the month points. So this is how everything is scored. And then last but not least, you actually have some events listed there. So this roster has virtually everything on it that anybody, whether they're a visitor or a member, will need to have. The only thing that's going to be super important is to keep it updated. So I say this is a collaboration between your membership person, your events person, and you. So, as the president, I would like for you to print this and make sure that you have copies for everybody in your chapter. And then each week, the membership, if they need to update it, they can go in and update it, remove people, add people, and your events person can go in and they can edit anything having to do with the events coming up. Okay? So, back to the president's role. So you're going to handle the speaker schedule. You're going to circulate the 10-minute questionnaire for the next week's speaker. You're going to print that roster and you're going to make sure that membership and events collaborates with you to keep it updated. Another thing that you're going to do is you're going to stop inappropriate behaviors such as texting or talking amongst the chapter members during the meeting. Now, your membership person is the person that if something is really problematic, they will speak to a member outside of the meeting and they will have that conversation. But what I would love for you to do is say there's people that are just chatting that day. There's some days, people just want to talk a little bit more, or maybe you guys had a social and everybody that came is kind of sharing, a joke or something that was shared that night. All I'm really wanting you guys to do is, hey guys, let's stay focused, let's keep the meeting rolling, that kind of thing. Okay. I'm not saying that you need to call anybody out. We're not going to ever embarrass anybody in a meeting, but your job is just to keep things flowing, remember? So if there's talking or if there's something that kind of keeps that from happening, you're just going to kind of say, hey guys, let's stay focused on the task, or hey, let's remember to do this or that. So that's just what I'm wanting you guys to do to keep everything flowing. You're going to find that that is the challenge, is to actually manage that time. So that's just to help with that. Okay. I'm going to throw this over to Lucas now. He's going to talk a little bit about these next few points. When he was president, he did a really good job of filling time and coming up with things if you guys have some time on your hands. So I'm going to throw it to him and let him share a little bit with you about how best to fill that time.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I was asked to say a few things about the presidency. Presidency is not complicated. People overcomplicate things. Presidency as a whole is like a mix between an air traffic controller and a party planner. You have to fill in the space, but you also have to control the madness around you. Now, with a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm very spontaneous, and it has to come back to a lot of times just reading the room. You just got to be able to read the room, and a lot of people, they stick so thoroughly to their schedule that they don't. And so you just have to look at the time, and the time is going to be your best friend. But you're also going to have to monitor the tone as well. So it's a whole different tone I noticed whenever I was it's a habit, it's habitual, and people fall out of being positive and excited and happy very quickly. And so I've noticed when I was leading meetings and I try to be funny and I try to raise everything and do the games and everything, and then I'll stop for a week or two and I'll come back and everyone is just depressed and very much by the book. Everything that we do in TNT is very much contrast between everything that everyone has experienced in their previous networking experiences, which is very much based on agenda, and numbers. And so the thing that really makes TNT different is not only the outside meetings that people have outside of it, but also the not necessarily entertainment or enjoyment on the inside, but if you do it correctly, then that's what it turns out to be. No, I'm constantly stressing to the members to try to grow themselves, and because of that, I make them uncomfortable consistently. And so I'm always thinking about ways to improve the meeting, ways to differentiate it. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get bored very quickly. This is the same thing with the 60 second. Every time that you do a 60 second, it's the same thing you're doing over and over again. People tune out and they don't want to hear it because they've already heard it. People in the brain are attracted to things that they don't already know. If they already know it, they tune it out. And so that's the way that I run my meetings as well. So every single meeting is going to be a little bit different. And the main thing that you have to worry about is just presenting yourself as well as controlling the tone of the environment within this amount of time that we have, the 90 minutes. So the first thing that I have as a point for all of you is don't act like you don't know what you're doing. I see this all the time with people. Think about yourself as a visitor or as somebody who was there who is a member. The president is supposed to be sort of a pillar of not necessarily authority, but they should be a pillar of being able to control the thing. Imagine if you're up in air traffic control and people are screaming and hitting buttons that they don't know what they do. It would just be awful. And so I see this all the time with the presidents. They don't know what to do because they're looking at the agenda. Maybe they're seeing something missing. Maybe they skip something. Just own whatever it is. Own whatever it is that you're in the moment of. If you're going a little bit fast, then, own that. If it's slow, then own that. But always act confident. Don't look at the agenda and say, well, we're doing this. I don't know if we're supposed to do this. I've been to meetings, REO. I mean, I've been to all of them. I've been to every single type of networking group. And it's not a TNT thing, it's a networking thing. When the leader of the group acts like they don't know what they're doing, everything else falls after that. And this shouldn't be surprising, but it's one of those common sense things that gets lost, I think, that people don't think about. And so when you're going into your agenda, if you skip something, let's say that you hit the membership before you hit visitor host, just hit visitor host afterwards. Don't say, oh, I made a mistake. And so it's all about presenting a picture of yourself and controlling this group. Because if you don't act like you're calm, cool, and collected and control the situation, no one else will. And you'll have people with very strong personalities try to usurp you and try to speak over you if you don't act like you know what's up. The second thing is just to stay positive, and this happens all the time as well. And so if you're a president and you only have a few people in, don't go, well, we only have a few people here. That sucks. Maybe we should just skip this meeting. I'm like, what? This has happened before. Actually happens all the time. And so don't do that. And then at the very end, when people are trying to beat themselves up, stop them. You have to be okay with cutting people off if you're the president, because people will start saying stuff and you'll have to just cut them off and be just like, no, we're not going to do that, and build them back up in a creative way. It doesn't matter how many times you say, if you don't have anything constructive to say, don't say it. People will still up and say, I suck and I'm a failure. This is how people will start off the recap. Just stop them, stop them from doing that. And so here's what I have as far as pertaining to this. At the very end with making up for the time in the open forums. I try to build in games all the time. Many of you have played my games. It's a little bit like the Saw movies, if you're familiar with that. That's how I try to structure my games, a little bit of torture in there. But I'm always trying to conduct some sort of game to try to freshen up the place and also make the 60 seconds more imaginative. The very first thing that we ever had where we experienced this was when we were doing the 60-second swap, which is when we had one person take the business card of another and then do their 60-second. I said, this could be a pretty good idea. And so I came up with all of these games that I've been running the people through, and they really like it more than anything else. It gets them out of their comfort zone and it breaks up the monotony of the meeting. Now, obviously, if I have a lot of visitors, I'm not going to play a game because it makes people uncomfortable. And if you're a visitor, you're trying to understand what's happening. They don't need to be made to be uncomfortable. But certainly, there's a lot of intention that goes on. And I guess that would be my first piece of advice, absent all of the other talking points that I had, is that, don't expect that your job as a president is just to go and read the agenda and then be done. You can do that. And in fact, most people do it. But they are not enhancing the meeting by just going in and reading like a robot. We had someone in one of the groups, Natalie can attest to this, and he was great when he was a member, and he was very interactive and very much the life of the party. And then we put him in the president role, and all he did was sit there and read the agenda from start to finish, and it took away all the personality of everything. And he lost what made him a good member because he thought that he had to fit into this niche. This is your meeting. Run it how you want to. And so make sure that you liven up. Remember, this is This is the greatest show. And so next thing that I want to say is you're going to have some time at the end, depending upon the size of your group. If you have a larger group, the large majority of the time, you're probably going to be trying to keep it to a certain time, as opposed to trying to elongate it. If you have a group over 12 or 15 people, you're probably going to be trying to get them out on time. One structure that we have there that I always like to use is I never cheap out on the 60 seconds and I never cheap out on the 10 minutes. At the very end, if you're running over, just make sure that people are doing 30 seconds for the wrap up and then, cut people off if you have to, because it's very important to keep people out into that 90 minutes. They're counting on that and they're going to get disgruntled if you keep them longer. But another thing, let's suppose that we're looking at the instance here where we have time to fill. And so this is how I typically do it. If I have 5 minutes left, if we're like 5 minutes early, about 5 minutes early, I'll dismiss them and I will say, take this time to go around and schedule some outside meetings and talk to people if it's within that 5 minutes, because there's not time to do anything within that 5 minutes. If there's about 10 minutes left, I will do a roundtable discussion of something like, what is our group lacking? The VP is supposed to get up and say, these are the things that we're looking for. But take that time to circle back, talk about membership opportunities, networking opportunities, and then also who you're looking for collectively as a group. Because if you have 10 minutes, that's about all you got. And then if you have 20 minutes early, then we have a problem because then we have to fill this with something else. So if you've done everything that you can do, you've done your 60 seconds, you've done your intros, you've done your 10 minute, and now you have plus 20 minutes to go, we have to fill that time with something. That's not really something that we could easily fill that time with. And so with that 20 minutes, you'd be amazed the amount of time that we can spend talking about things that the members want to talk about. And so it's really beneficial sometimes to put it on the members and say, what do you guys want to talk about? What do you want to do? This is a good problem to have. This is a short problem to have because, like I said, only the groups with the smaller number of people typically ever have this problem. So savor it while you can. If you're building up the group, this is going to be a short problem that you have. But something like a wisdom circle is something that we've always felt very good about. Another thing is I remember when I was in the Rainmakers long ago, they said, that's all fine and dandy. Definitely when people are doing their 60 seconds, a lot of people just tune them out and don't listen to them because they're worried and trying to conduct their own 60 seconds in their head. And so we've done basically a 60 seconds at the end to make up for that time. And what we're doing is not saying what a good referral is for you. The president at that time said, if we had someone, like, for instance, if you could articulate in a couple of sentences how I can describe your business to other people, then let's do that. And so everybody went around the room and articulated in 2 or 3 sentences. If you were in a conversation with someone and you brought up their business, what could you pitch them? How could you say what this person does in a couple of sentences? There was a gentleman at the Trailblazers just the other day, and he goes, I guess people don't understand what I do because I've been sitting in a room with someone for a long time. And they said, do you do that? People, when they're in the room, unless you break it down to them very simply and change what you're doing all of the time, they're going to grow dull to what you're doing and then not really listen to what you're saying. This is the human problem. It's not because they're jerks, it's because this is how humans are made up. Humans are made up to be this way and to only bring in what they feel is pertinent information. And when you're sitting there in a room and your adrenaline is going, you're just not retaining that. And so we've had those instances where we'll have 20 minutes or more to the end of the meeting. We'll say, okay, let's go around each every one of you and let's try to increase our referrals. Why don't you give me something that you're looking for and something that you can that I can articulate on your behalf? Or just something like that. Don't be afraid to pose a question. We have the wisdom circles, which is essentially, does anyone have a business problem? Let's go over it and give you advice. But the world is your oyster as far as how you can fill the last 20 minutes. If you want to use AI and just say, hey, I have 20 minutes in this meeting, what do I do and how can I enhance it? This is a problem that should not persist for a very long time, but filling that time is very important in order to try to build your group up. Because if you're just going through the motions and doing the agenda, you're not really building the group up insofar as if you have the freedom to actually construct something on your own. And so it's an opportunity to have. But just going over the last one, don't act like you don't know what's going on. If you have 20 minutes, you go, well, shoot, I don't know what to do. Never say that. Always act like you're confident and then stay positive and then just, have fun with it. This is a fun thing. If you're stressing out because you have 20 minutes left, then talk to me about it. Let's change the mindset. We can give you games to where you have them in your back pocket to where if you have that time you can pull them out. If you lack from creativity, we have an abundance of creativity we can share with you. So that's my note for the presidency. It's not the most complicated position, but it's very nuanced because no other position has to basically make a performance. And so you have to perform and you have to allow the whole group to feel like, you know, they're in your game and you're the one in control, but you're in control because of, you know, trying to do things in the best possible way to make it not only entertaining but effective. So that's what I got.
All right. Thank you, Lucas. So just to follow up with what he said, we do have games. We have things that I can email to you. We can put on dashboard. There are things that you can keep in that binder. I know back when we've had past members that have created some of their own games using things like questions that are written in certain colors and then M&Ms that match those colors, and they keep a little baggie of M&Ms and they pass them around, and whatever M&M you pull out is that question that coordinates to it on that sheet. Just different things like that that we have, that you have available to you. So you should never worry about having time that you can't fill. But I would just say have them in your binder, know ahead of time if there's a period of time, this is what you're going to do with it. Okay. The president's responsible for leading and motivating all leadership members to fulfill their duties and responsibilities in a timely way. So basically, you're just going to check in with everybody. I want you to have a leadership meeting that you're going to set up at least every 8 weeks. At least every 8 weeks. If everything's going well, it shouldn't be more than 30 minutes that you guys need to meet. You could do it before a meeting, you could do it after a meeting, so it doesn't have to be a separate day or time. But I think it's important everybody's on the same page. And you could say to membership, are you having any problems with your spreadsheets? You know, what's going on with this interview? You know, talking to the other people in the leadership team and just making sure everybody's good with what they have. We used to have you guys submit a president's report every single month. I am changing that moving forward. I will request a president's report from you periodically. I'm going to attempt to do that quarterly, but honestly, I'm in touch with every owner and I'm in touch with a lot of the leadership people. So I really have a pulse on how every chapter is going. So I don't want to burden you guys with one more thing to do, but probably every 2 to 3 months, I'm going to send you a link, and it's just a very short Google form that you can kind of let me know weaknesses of the chapter, strengths in the chapter, if there's anything that you need from me. So it's just a way for us to stay in touch, but I will request that of you when I want that from you. Pay attention to emails and Discord post from me because that is how I communicate with you guys for the most part. So I'm just asking that you pay attention if there's something that you need to follow up with, just do it timely, and I would appreciate that. If leadership changes in any of your positions in your chapter, please let me know that within 3 to 5 days of the change. And it requires me fixing the website, or sometimes I have to assign different things to someone on Discord. So again, as long as it's timely, within a week's time, I can get those changes made. We talked about conducting a leadership meeting, a minimum of every 8 weeks. And then you guys together will set leadership goals. So that's not just for you, that's for your team. As you guys meet, you'll discuss what you want the chapter, how you want it to look moving forward. Sometimes you might want to issue a little challenge to the members to do certain things. That's all on you guys. You guys decide that within your chapter. And then the last thing is just discuss all your reports. So when you guys get together, like I say, the membership makes a report, the VP keeps the board and has the stats, just so you all are on the same page together with one unified way that you're doing things, and you guys are, all focused on keeping the chapter together and keeping it growing. So I'm going to stop sharing. So that is, in essence, the president's training. So I would just ask for you guys to make sure that you find those resources in your dashboard. If you have any questions, I'm always available. You know that. Also, the owner of your chapter is always available. like Lucas said, just have fun with it. It's really kind of just, managing your time during your meeting and making sure everybody is doing their job, and you guys will all do great. I'm sure of it. So I'm going to stop recording for right now.